This is going to be good. I'm Tasha, and I am a professional speaker, a life coach, business mentor. I am an inspirational author, but more than anything, I am a woman on a mission.
And y'all, when I read this book, I was like, oh my gosh, this woman has been stalking my life. Because I'm serious, everything in there, I was like, she gets me. She actually gets me. I am here. Yes, I give myself permission.
I want to share with you all this past weekend, the Conquer Conference. I literally just got back yesterday from Lincoln, Nebraska, where I got a chance to participate as an MC and as a breakout session speaker for a morning and afternoon breakouts. Those breakout sessions were maximize your existence, becoming the woman God designed you to be. And I want to share today the backstory leading up to the Conquer Conference. I want to share some nuggets that I shared with the ladies on how to maximize your existence. And then I want to share some things on how to go to your next step and how we can go together. So we're going to be together all week. If you can't make it live, it's okay. Share it with your friends or catch the replay. But I will tell you, I do like interaction. So I would love if you all would, every now and then just type in the comments, give me some hearts. Let me know that you're there, that you're listening, that this is for you. Are y'all ready? Leading up to the Conquer Conference, I got to give you the backstory on how I got to that moment. Leslie Vernick was actually my life coach. 4 years ago, I was introduced to this woman, and I was introduced to her by her book, Emotionally Destructive Relationship. And if you've never heard this book before, if you've never heard of Leslie Vernick, that's Vernick, especially toxic relationships and how to have healthy boundaries when it comes to relationships. Now, the emotionally destructive relationships, that was my cycle 4 years ago and prior as a people pleaser, somebody who constantly lived in fear, intimidation, who was afraid to walk out her purpose, who was afraid to walk out her calling because I did not know who I was. I let others define me, other people's opinions. I lived in fear of what others would say or think, all that stuff. So when she was talking about in her book, Emotionally Destructive Relationships, that first book was about all relationships, even the relationship that we have with ourselves. So came across that book on Amazon. And when I read that book, in the pages of the book, I swear she was talking to me, y'all, because a lot of what she put in that book, I had never heard before. I had never seen before when it comes to what healthy looks like. And in the pages of those books, she captured me so much that I was like, I need to find out who this woman is. So I went to her website and I found out then that she was a life coach and a counselor. And she had certain things on her website that I was like, yes, that's me. Yes, I need help. So I signed up for a free session. This woman ended up becoming my life coach, not knowing if I was going to have the money to pay for her. Not knowing where this was going to go, I just knew that I needed help. Long story short, halfway through our sessions, I started waking up because in those sessions, it wasn't about blaming anybody else. It wasn't about being a victim. It wasn't about any of those things. In our session, she literally helped me to peel back layers to understand who Tasha is, What does God say about me? What do I say about me? She helped me to uncover without placing blame, without deflecting. She helped me to understand that it is okay to take ownership of my life. It is okay under God to be honest. She taught me about boundaries, about saying no to people, especially when it comes to toxic relationships. But she also taught me the power of saying yes to myself. So as a result of our sessions, as a result of journaling, as a result of my faith being restored in God, my trust in God, because of the honesty, because I was angry and disappointed at him too. As a result of all of that, I remember halfway through our sessions, I started feeling alive. I started waking up. I started feeling free. And I told her one day, I said, I feel like I'm supposed to help other women who were in the same boat that I was, who are maybe suffering in silence, who are hiding behind masks, who are holding themselves back, who are sitting on potential, but they're overwhelmed, overloaded, overlooked, and they don't know where to start. And I told her, I said, I feel like these women that I'm supposed to help are women that when you look at them, they don't look like they're suffering in silence. They don't look like that they are losing control, because like me, they know how to show up. They know how to function. They may even know how to wear the mask really well, but others don't know, because they, like me, may be the ones that others are going to for the advice, for the help, all of that stuff. So I said, I feel like I'm supposed to help this woman. And what happened was I was waking up to my purpose. And I ended up taking my journals and realized that there was a book in me. There were several books in me. And the first book was Don't Limit Me. And I remember pointing the finger at myself one day in the mirror saying, Tasha, don't limit me. And I remember feeling like God was saying, Tasha, don't limit me. So as a result of all of the coaching, the counseling, the reflecting, the praying, the waking up, my purpose started rising up and growing stronger. So the latter part of our coaching session, she was literally coaching me around my purpose. So that was 6 months of coaching 4 years ago. And 4 years ago, I literally birthed my first book. 4 years ago, I literally went back to school to become a life coach myself. Now, mind you, all of the sessions with Leslie, these were by phone. So I remember praying and saying, God, I want to be able to thank this woman, to tell her just how much of an impact that she's had in my life. And I prayed, and I secretly prayed for one day that I'd be able to hug her neck and just be able to tell her, thank you, because I feel like it was a divine appointment. Do y'all know what a divine appointment what it looks like and what it feels like? Has that ever happened to you where you knew that you were just in the right place at the right time, and then everything changed because of that moment? And that moment for me was that 6-month season of my life where this woman literally was used as a vessel by God. Now, ultimately, I do give all credit to God. I do. But God also uses people. And so because I had that help for myself, I also felt a responsibility to pay it forward to others. So that's where Coach Tasha was born. That's where the author, and for me, it started in a blog first. Started with a blog where I was just writing a blog, doing inspirational posts on Facebook, social media. My blogs turned into a book, but it was through the social media that I started getting attention. And I'm a court reporter, so the Court Reporting Association was doing a conference that January. And because the person who was planning the conference actually needed a speaker, she reached out to me as a result of my Facebook post. So as I'm waking up, others are starting to notice. And I'm going to talk to you all about purpose and maximize your existence, but I got to tell you this backstory first, okay? I hope y'all are following me. So I say yes to the speaking engagement for that January. That becomes the month that Don't Limit Me is birth. Fast forward all the way to 2 years ago, Leslie Vernick, my coach, the woman that helped me, was going to do her very first conference, Conquer Conference. And she actually had an MC already for this conference. So when she had the MC, though, that MC actually had to back out for whatever reason. And Leslie said, she prayed and said, God, who can I get to be the MC for my conference? This was 2 years ago, the first one. She said, I came to her mind. So you can imagine how excited I was, how delighted I was when I get an email from Leslie Vernick saying, Tasha, and she shared the situation with me, and she also said, would you like to MC my conference? So I'm freaking out like, oh my gosh, like this is what I've been praying for. Not only do I get a chance to meet her in person, but I actually get to be at the conference representing Conquer Conference, emceeing from the stage. So my first introduction to her was 2 years ago in person, and I was able to hug her neck, tell her thank you for everything that she did, and to be able to stand on a stage and tell everybody I am a product of what this represents, Conquer Conference. And I got a chance to hug her neck and tell her thank you and all of that. So that was 2 years ago. It went amazing, so much so that she invited me back to the conference that actually took place this past weekend. So fast forward, I get the ask request from Leslie to bring me back for this year. But this time, in addition to emceeing the conference, she also wanted me to be the breakout session speaker for the morning and the afternoon. And it just so happens that I had created my own signature talk, Maximize Your Existence. So this time I got a chance to go again in multiple roles. And when she said that, I knew that I needed help. So I asked Ashley, my assistant, virtual assistant, to come with me. And this one was different. This Conquer Conference was different. I had so many women who were there at the first one come to me and say, man, Tasha, I see your growth. I see like a lot. But what they didn't realize is that when I came to the last Conquer Conference, I actually, it felt like coming home to me, because I literally was coming off of having an identity crisis. Because when I first started understanding that God wanted to use me to help wake women up, to help them understand their purpose, I didn't know that I was going to be attacked in that area. Okay, so I really need y'all to hear me when I say this, because some of y'all are wondering what in the world is going on with me. I'm talking to you about purpose today. And I had to get on the edge of my seat to lean in. I didn't know that when out of the gate, when I said, yes, God, I will do this. Yes, God, I will help other women wake up. Yes. And when I first started out the gate, I was like a woman running towards the fire, and I was on a mission to help women wake up. And I was like a hope dealer, like you don't have to be your past. You don't have to be your shame. I didn't know that I was going to be attacked further, and I was going to be in such an identity crisis that I was going to question who I was and what I was doing in the first place. And I got caught up in this, they call it shiny object syndrome. I don't know if that's a business term, but I knew what I was supposed to do, but I got distracted because I thought what I was called to do wasn't good enough, or it wasn't enough. I thought it was supposed to be more. So then I delved in to say, well, I'm not just a life coach. I'm a woman in business. People are asking me about business. So why don't I become a business coach? After all, there's more money in that. And so I decided to jump on the bandwagon to call myself a business coach. But it didn't resonate with me because most business coaches are not concerned about your personal growth or your spiritual growth. Most business coaches are all about strategy for the business, not about the person. So then I was like, well, I'm confused, God, because I also do talk a lot about faith. And so I was like, well, are you calling me to ministry? Am I supposed to be over here just in the church world? Or am I supposed to be over here? I didn't know. And God is not the author of confusion, right? And so I was going back and forth because I didn't even know what to call myself. But I have to tell you this, that in the midst of all of that, purpose was still happening. In the midst of me trying to get crystal clear, trying to perfect my title on what I called myself, in the midst of everything, can I just say that there was a consistent theme happening this whole time? That I was being introduced to women who were saying, Tasha, you are helping me to get free. You're inspiring me. You're helping me to wake up. You're helping me to not overthink this, not overcomplicate this. So all of that was happening the whole time, but I was trying to complicate it because I thought it was supposed to be packaged a certain kind of way. Let me just pause right there. Am I talking to anybody today? Can anybody relate to what I'm saying? Lori says, this must be a topic women need to hear because I shared on this topic as well. Awesome. Rebecca says, all your stuff. So I was super happy to see this live. Hey, Rebecca. Rebecca was one of the ones that I met this past weekend. So if I'm talking to you, just say, raise your hand. Amen. Yes, Tasha, just whatever. Sharman, thank you, girl. She said, oh, yes, ma'am. All right, Sharman, I'm going to keep talking. So after going through the wishy-washiness of what do I call myself and my business coach and my life coach and my personal development coach, I think I changed my title like 10 times, just trying to figure out how to do it. But the crazy thing is I was still doing it. I was trying to box myself in so that it could be packaged and presented in a way that looked like it would be accepted. But how many of y'all know that God never called us to fit into anybody's box? He called us to be the women that he called us to be. And sometimes most times it will not be fitting in a box. It will be standing out. If anything, it will be kicking the box down. So going back to this weekend, I got a chance to come do the Conquer Conference, and I've never been on a stage that big before. Can I just be honest? That was the biggest. I've done speaking engagements. I used to do acting where I acted in front of people, but when I walked into that auditorium, all I could think about was, OMG. Like, is this really happening right now? To be able to function in the capacity of MC and the breakout session speaker. And what I shared in the breakout session on how to maximize your existence was the simple process of discovering your purpose so that you can maximize. This aha moment came to me today after I got a chance to talk to my own accountability partner to process what happened this past weekend. What I realized is that what I was doing, I was functioning in purpose this past weekend. And what I also realized is that as much good that happened this past weekend, what I also came to a bigger understanding of is that I believe that God has put me in this position. This is me talking out my purpose. I believe that God has put me in the position that I'm in and given me the tools of transparency and authenticity so that women like you even can be able to see the journey in real time. Because I'm not somebody who's at the beginning, and I know that there's a vision that God has for me. So I don't feel like I've even scratched the surface of what that looks like. I'm somebody that is in process right now of walking out her journey. And that is something that I feel like that God wants me to share. Part of my purpose is to be able to be that woman that shares the process and the journey in real time, to show you what it's like for somebody that's going through it. That's the beginning, the middle, and when the explosion happens, you're going to be right there with me. Do y'all hear me? You're going to be right there with me on this journey. So I wanted to share the backstory of how I met Leslie, how I got to Conquer Conference, and now I want to share a little bit about what I shared at Conquer Conference. And every day this week at 2 o'clock, I'm going to share. And again, I've had to do 3 takes of this video. I'm going to persist and I'm going to get this message out because I feel like somebody needs to hear this when it comes to understanding your purpose so that you can maximize your existence. All right. So I shared a story at the Conquer Conference about my daughter. My daughter is 12 years old and she's very creative. I'm partial, very creative, very smart. But a couple years ago, she actually got a chance to audition for a play. And the part that she wanted for the audition was Cinderella. And she loved that part so much that she literally memorized every line of that part for Cinderella. She was not trying to even look at any other parts. And it came time for audition, went through, and then the day was revealed where we found out who got what parts. And the part that she did not get Cinderella. She actually got the part of the narrator. So me being mom, trying to encourage her, I said, Mila, that's actually good because the narrator actually has better lines. She was not hearing that though. And she did what most people do. She pouted and she was like, but I wanted to be Cinderella. She wasn't trying to hear any encouragement or anything. So I was just like, okay, your dad's going to have to handle this because, you know, maybe he can say it better than I can. So my husband talks to her and smooths things over. So I don't know why I brought this up the next day, but I did. So the next day on the way to school, I'm thinking everything's good. And I said, Mila, so now are you excited about playing the part of Cinderella? And she was like, no, I still want to be Cinderella. And I learned something in that moment. Because in that moment, when I mean those days and weeks that went by, she went on to play the part of the narrator. And she did a really good job at playing the narrator. And the lesson that I learned from that was how many of us are secretly, or maybe you voiced it, saying to God, God, I don't like the gifts or the talents that you gave me. I want what somebody else has. And it may not be a person that you identify, but maybe you think what you have is not enough. Or maybe you think that what you have, that it should be more than, because when you look at what other people have, gifts, talents, opportunities, businesses, jobs, can we get real, spouses? Just being honest. But we look at what other people have and we think, and we look at our own lives and our own situations and we think, this ain't it. But we glamorize what other people have because maybe what they're doing, it looks easier, it looks funner, it looks better. And we totally are like, I want to be Cinderella. I don't want to be this. And what God is saying is, I need you to be who I called you to be. I need you to carry the gifts, the talents. I need you to understand and discover what your purpose is so that you can walk out what that looks like and be my representative on the earth. I shared this at the conference because I heard someone say this in a church setting. I think he said, we are God's secret weapon on this earth. And if we spend so much time trying to be somebody else and not ourselves, then we are robbing the world of our gifts and we're robbing ourselves of the opportunity to live out our lives. And so that's one of the lessons that I learned. So today, what I want to talk to you about before we go into all of the other sessions that we're going to have every day this week at 2 o'clock, I want you to do me this favor. I want you, I don't care if you have to get your journal, you can use a sticky note if you need to. But what I want you to do, this is what I shared with the ladies at the conference. I want you to write down a couple of things. So one of the first things that I want you to do is I want you to write, what is my greatest accomplishment to date? And when you write this down, I don't want you to think that what you wrote is too small or too insignificant. Okay? There's no such thing. It's great because it's great to you. Does that make sense? So that's the first thing that I want you to write down is, what is my greatest accomplishment up until this moment? And again, there's no such thing as too small or too insignificant. All right? The second thing I want you to write down, what has been my greatest failure or setback up until this moment? Now, you all have the luxury to be on the other side of this camera. The ladies that were in the workshop, I actually was like, if somebody next to you is not writing, I want you to raise your hand because I want to have some accountability. So in this situation, you're on the other side of this, so you're probably sitting in your room, car, or whatever, and nobody is there to hold you accountable. But I want you to stretch yourself. Some of y'all have never, ever written these things down before. The first one was your greatest accomplishment, and the second one was your greatest failure or your greatest setback. When you understand what I'm asking, can you just write "got it" in the comments? Greatest setback or failure or greatest accomplishment. Once you get those, and you might want to write this note for you to do this exercise later, then what I want you to do is I want you to just look at them. Okay? Again, some of y'all, this may be the first time that you've acknowledged this. I want you to just look at them, and I want you to connect with them. And when you do, the next thing I want you to write out is, what is it that you believe, or what area do you believe that God is wanting to use you? In other words, what do you sense that your purpose is in this season of your life? Now, I'm going to warn you, when we were at the conference, there were several ladies that said, I'm stuck. I don't know. But think about this. If you look at, we'll use your greatest failure or setback as an example. If you look at that, you can actually see clues for how God wants to use you. Because a lot of times the greatest area that we're going to be used in is also the greatest area that we were attacked in. So in my situation, I was very honest. I said some of the areas that I have been attacked in have been marriage, finances, identity, self-esteem, even in me trying to uncover what my own purpose is. A lot of those areas that I just named were areas that I myself have been attacked in, that I myself have had setbacks and failures in. But here's the clues. This is how good God is. Here's the clues right here. The greatest areas that I've been attacked in, like, okay, I'm going to be real transparent. I shared this in one of the sessions. I was in the military. I was in the U.S. Army lifetime ago. But I remember being so paralyzed with fear during that season of my life that as an 18-year-old woman in the military, I remember being at basic training, Fort Jackson, South Carolina, and it was hot. It was summertime, and we were sitting in a class, and I was so full of fear. I was too scared to raise my hand and say, I need to go to the restroom. So what I did is I literally wet my pants. I'm not lying, y'all. I literally wet my pants, 18 years old in the U.S. Army, because I was so paralyzed. I did not know how to speak up just to say that I had to go to the restroom. And the irony of all of that is the very thing that God has me doing now is I'm going all over and speaking in front of audiences. I am the very thing that I was attacked in. I didn't know how to open up my mouth and talk and say I have to go to the bathroom. I was willing to risk the embarrassment of that versus just raising my hand. And now I'm a professional speaker. Did that just give somebody an aha moment right there? So there's clues about our purpose based off of just asking those questions. Now, there's other ways to discover your purpose. I'm just trying to simplify it for you. So, y'all with me? Those are the things that I'm asking. Your greatest accomplishment, greatest failure or setback. And then I want you to write down, God, what you think God is wanting to use you in for your purpose. Another example, somebody told me, but Tasha, when I think about my greatest failure or setback, the only thing I can think about is I got divorced because I didn't know basically how to properly date, and I just made some bad decisions and ended up getting married. And now that we're divorced, that's a failure, but I don't know how God wants to use me. And what I said to her was this: have you learned lessons from that? And she was like, yeah. And I said, okay, well, the lessons that you've learned can now be used to help others not make the same mistakes that you made. And how that works with your greatest accomplishments is the things that you've accomplished, the areas that you've overcome, the things that you're just naturally gifted in. Those are areas that God can use you in also to teach and train others to do the very same thing. Okay, let me read this. Aha, setbacks and failures should be considered as much as accomplishments. Yes, Aisha. Absolutely. And sometimes we are so focused on the negativity of what failures and setbacks are that we don't realize that they are stepping stones. So the brick that was once the wall of fear or the wall of doubt can now be the brick that is my pathway to my purpose. Charmin says, women in all caps, no matter your age, race, economic background, going after your dream/purpose, 110 miles per hour, giving it 110%. Yes, yes. And I can just say this. Prior to, I shared with you in the beginning about me going through coaching and all that stuff. Prior to that, I felt like I was wandering around aimlessly. I didn't necessarily want to die, but I didn't know why I wanted to live. And uncovering my purpose has given life a whole new meaning, and being able to own it has taken on a whole different meaning, because owning my purpose has a lot to do with owning who I am, how I'm wired. Like, I am naturally an introvert. I am not loud. I'm a deep thinker. I'm a soft talker, quirky at times, but there's things about me that I own that about me. And I also own that I am imperfectly perfect, if that makes any sense. So going after your purpose does not mean you have it all together. It doesn't mean that your bank account is overflowing. It doesn't mean any of those things. It means that I trust the designer. I trust that the woman that God said I was supposed to be when he called me by name, which that came up at the Conquer Conference, my name means gift. So when God called me, he called me a gift. And his restoration process for me was restoring my own mindset to believe and agree with what he said about me. Same thing applies for you. Charmin says sometimes we may know our purpose, but we don't know what to do with it. Yes, Charmin. So that's why I feel like part of my purpose is to come alongside other women specifically and help them to know the how that falls behind that. Just like I had somebody come alongside me and show me the how. That's the power of connection and community. Don't forget, answer those questions. And here's the thing, don't think too long on them. Answer the first thing that comes to your mind, and tomorrow we're going to dig a little deeper. Have a wonderful day. Bye.